YouTube. I just want to take a quick sec to explain and talk through my poultry setup. I at the moment have 2 Sebastopol geese and 4 Emden geese, and they're at the moment in their breeding pens. So I've paired them up into couples and they're in their breeding pens, as well as 2 Indian runner ducks. I really like Indian runner ducks. I've also got Plymouth Rock Leghorns, Isa Browns, and I've also got some olive egger cross chickens. So predominantly they're all free range. I have them in a quarter acre paddock, and in the quarter acre paddock it's fenced by 900 high chicken mesh with 2 hot wires on top, and I also was playing around with a hot wire on the bottom, like an electric fence. So one of those is electrified at the top, and like I said, the one down the bottom was electrified. So we've had this paddock for 3 years. We had a bit of trouble when we first fenced it with wombats digging under the fence, and the chickens would just walk through the hole. Wombats are really funny. They pick a path and they'll only stick to that path, and if you block the path they will just keep on digging either side. They want to walk through the same spot. So I've put a few panels, just pull panels there to try and stop them from digging in, and also I just have to do like a lap, just walk around the perimeter of the paddock to check that there's no holes, because they're actually digging through one side and then going through the other side of the fence. So there's 2 spots. One is not such an issue because it's actually bordering another fenced chicken paddock, but on the low side it actually goes out into a paddock that I don't really want the chickens getting into. When we first moved here and we had the chickens, I just had a chicken trailer that I put out on the grass, and the chickens just free ranged, but we ended up losing a few to foxes because my chickens tend to get up quite early in the morning. They'll go down and finish the horse food, and the foxes would just pluck them off one by one. So we ended up fencing quite a large paddock for them to stay in, and the measures I've taken, we haven't lost any in 3 years. So we've got the 900 high chicken mesh with the hot wires, and I keep my dog Ray in there. He's a Kelpie cross Labrador, and he's happy to stay up all night and sleep during the day. And that was sort of just by mistake. We just had a house dog. He wasn't doing anything. He never attacked the chickens. He was always really good with the chickens and the geese. So I ended up just putting him in the paddock with them when we lost our second dog, and he just went really well. And that paired with the geese, we haven't had any issues with foxes in 3 years. And that I'm not locking them up at night. They take themselves to bed. And the same with the geese. They don't sleep in a house. They sleep out in the paddocks. That's what they prefer. I've heard of people training geese to lock up at night time, but I don't think it's an easy thing to do. I did try when I first got them, and I was out there at 9 o'clock at night trying to put them into their little bed that I'd made them there. It was quite a large shed that they could sleep in, but they didn't want a bar of it. They didn't want to go in there. They just want to sleep in the paddock, and I'm fine with that as long as they're safe. So that's been working really well for us. Like I said, at the moment they're in their breeding pens, and predominantly for the most part of the year they're all free range. I'm not really interested in keeping anything in small cages with no grass underneath them. I want to, hold things and keep animals like I would want to live if I was that animal. So it's been quite tricky to have the dog in the paddock and also collect the eggs without him eating them, and breed the geese without him getting the eggs out of the nest. So that's been a little bit of a challenge. What we've done is we made a smaller entry to the chicken tractor, and so he can't actually get in anymore. So I've been I collect about 14 eggs a day all year round. The girls have been really good layers. They sort of drop off in the autumn time when they lose their feathers, but for the most part they're laying all year round. And the geese, like I said, I've penned them up into their breeding pens so that Ray can't get in there and get their eggs. I've got 3 mums sitting, 3 geese, and like I said, one runner duck sitting, and they're on so the mother and the daughter goose are on about 4 eggs each, and then my Sebastopol goose is on about 7 eggs, and they're quite small clutches. I did take some eggs away in the winter time. They started laying in the winter, and I took some eggs away to eat, so they do have only small clutches. One hatched yesterday and the mum threw it out of the nest and it didn't make it. I don't know whether it was already sick, but it got halfway out of its shell. It looked perfectly fine. I tried really hard to bring it back. I put it under a heat lamp all day and it just didn't make it. So that's okay. She's only got 1 egg now. I don't know where her other 2 eggs have gone. This happened last year too. I don't know if rats took them or if she cracked them open and they've just gone into the nest. I don't know, but she has only got 1 egg left. So I'm keeping a really close eye on that to see if and when it hatches, if it does need any help. Last year was my first season breeding the geese. I got 2 successful gooselings and they died within 9 weeks. Purely because I had to keep taking them away from the parents because I didn't have any pens set up for the dog, and I didn't want Ray to attack them or eat them, being that they were so little. So I was taking them away at night time and putting them back in the daytime. Long story short, I went into hospital myself to have my son, and it was too much. I had somebody else looking after them and they got too cold and they died in the night. So bit of a learning curve, unfortunately. Things like that happen and you just have to learn from them. I try really hard not to let things die. Of course you do, but sometimes it just happens that way and it's hard, but you have to accept it. But this year I've penned them up, they're with their parents, so hopefully we'll get some good gooselings out of that. And then next year I'll probably look to make an even better setup for them where they can just sit on their nests and have plenty of room if they want to get up. But at the moment they're sort of temporary, just kennels that they're staying in inside caged pens. So depending on how many gooselings I get this year, I'll look to make a bit of a better setup. I started out with 6 hens to my Plymouth Rock rooster. Now Plymouth Rock are a heritage American breed chicken. I really like them because they're a dual purpose breed of chicken there for meat and egg production. They're quite a large bird, probably twice the size of a Isa Brown, and so I've just recently got those hens, 7 of them, to start not only hatching their eggs but also to keep for my own consumption. And like I said, I've got the Isa Browns and the Leghorns. When I did have 6, I had a lot of trouble with the rooster at first because he's quite a lot bigger than the chickens, and he actually plucked one of the chickens, not severely, but I had to pen her up by herself so she could have a bit of R&R. So in researching that and talking to a few people, I actually ended up getting more chickens because if you don't have enough chickens to your rooster, they can tend to mate with the same chicken a few too many times and actually do some damage. So I've got some more chickens to try and increase my flock a bit. I'm not really interested in hatching the Isa Browns and the Leghorn crosses with the Plymouth Rock because I only have 1 rooster, so it'll just be the purebred Plymouth Rock that I'll be hatching. They get a pretty good price because they are a dual purpose bird, and they're also not too common in my area, so I should hopefully get a pretty good price for them. At the moment I've just got them on a layer pellet, also a scratch mix, which is just a mix of seeds, and I've also got them on fermented barley. I've played around with also putting apple cider vinegar and some herbs in their water, just for gut health. And they also get my garden scraps, and I showed in another clip a composting system that I made out of pallets, and that's going really well. So I'm composting their bedding and also any food scraps that they're leaving. I collect all of them up and put them into the compost bin. And I've had really no issues with vetting any of the chickens or the geese. I've had, apart from that chicken that got a little bit plucked by the rooster, I've had no issues. I've only wormed once in 3 years, and I've only had to deal with lice once in 3 years. So it's a pretty good setup. I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, so thanks for listening, guys. I'm going to do another video soon about my goals for the poultry paddocks, and I'll also do a walk around. At the moment, I'll just introduce you to Ray. This is beautiful. Ray! So this is our guard dog, Ray, Labrador cross Kelpie. And he was just our house dog, and we put him out here with everybody just to have a job to do, and he's just taken to it like a duck to water. He absolutely loves it. I don't have to drag him in when I let him into the house yard to play with the kids. He just comes on back here because he knows his job and he knows what he's got to do. So he's happy to stay up all night protecting the paddock, and he hasn't attempted too much to dig out or get away. You can see there's quite a big hole in the gate there. He couldn't be bothered. He's just happy to stay here with the poultry and sleep through the day. I'm going to take you for a walk around my geese pens. They're reasonable sized pens. They've got a bit of room to roam. They've all got access to water and food. But generally the hens, goose and the duck that I've got sitting, generally they just sit on their nest, so they don't need a lot of room. But I'll take you for a walk. It's just a temporary setup of kennels at the moment, which they're nested in, and as long as they have good ventilation and they're out of the rain, they're pretty happy. So I'll take you for a quick walk around there. And we've had some issues with rats under the one of the goose houses, so we'll have to look into that next breeding season, and just not have such a big gap for the rats to nest in. I'll take you for a walk. This here's Bossy Goose, sorry. And he just patrols the outside of the pens and keeps things away. He didn't have a mate this year, so he's just been a loner on the outside. So in here is the daughter goose, and I've paired her up with the Sebastopol male so that there's no crossbreeding. And as you can see, they're very protective. And they're very loud as well, so bear with me. But he's quite sweet. He doesn't chase me too much or bite me. But as you can see, this bossy guy, he'll just patrol the fence and usually try and bite me. In this one, you can see we've got the runner ducks. And if you've owned any fowl, you'll know that they're quite messy, and they actually need their water changed every single day because they just go in there and like to foul the water. So this is my Sebastopol female on 7 eggs. And they're very good parents. This here is the original mum and dad that I got. And she's in here on her. So I'll just get away from all the noise. I'm pretty happy if they're aggressive. When it comes to breeding, that's sort of what you want, because you want them to look after their eggs, you want them to look after their gooselings, and that way the chances of you losing them to foxes or birds of prey is minimized because they are being such good parents. So if they want to chase me and try and bite me, I'm happy with that. If they have offspring that they're trying to protect, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, so just a quick walk around to meet everybody. Thanks for watching, guys.